Hi, and welcome back to Craft Along with Jay. And if you're new, welcome. My name is Yara, and I am so happy you could join me today. Today, I have four projects, and they're all decoupage pumpkins. For project number one, I got this pumpkin from at some point from Dollar Tree, and I've had it for ages. And I just got these napkins from Hobby Lobby, and these are 3 plies, I believe. Yeah, I'm looking at the back of my pack to make sure to see how many plies I need to pull off the back. And I have 2 plies I need to pull off. And yeah, they're really one easy to pull off. Normally this does the trick really quickly, but it was a little bit of a struggle. So the first layer was to get off. The second one, that was a struggle. That took forever, and I'm not going to show you that because that was a struggle. But be patient; it'll come off eventually. And then I'm going to cut it into pieces that I'm going to use for my pumpkin. And then first I'm going to paint it with 2 coats of plaster. And then once that's done, it's just to give it a base coat so when I add the color, um, it just looks the color that I want. And here it's kind of different tones, and this is hazelnut I used. I want it to be kind of dark under my napkin just to give it kind of like a warm fall rustic look. So yeah, that's why I chose that. And here I'm just going to start adding some Mod Podge to my pumpkin, and then we'll lay down the napkin on top. And I'm going to do this in sections just because of the shape of the pumpkin. And yeah, it's not smooth all the way around. So it's just easier for me to do it in sections and just do a little at a time and very gently just press it down and kind of rub it in. Not too hard because, the napkin is fragile, but just very gently. Although this doesn't look very gentle, but it is. It's just sped up just when I said it. But yeah, so I just kind of rub it down. And I'm not too worried about wrinkles or anything like that because I do want it to be like an aged look, like old. So, yeah, I'm okay with wrinkles. That doesn't mean I'm just gonna make it all a wrinkled mess, but you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be all smooth and perfect. And then I'm just kind of put it down a section. It's sort of like, yeah, in patches, really. It's like patchwork, really. Yeah, I guess you could call it that. So I just add some more and lay my napkin down, and here I keep cutting just whatever it looks good and how I can fit it around. And you can't really tell too much that it's in pieces, just because probably it's so busy and the leaves are everywhere. So yeah, it actually turned out really nice. I'm very pleased with it. I hope you like it too. So yeah, and I'll just add a little bit of Mod Podge on top of the napkin as well, just to help seal it in. But just very little and still be very gentle with it. Too much Mod Podge is not good either because it will bubble it up and wrinkle it and rip it. So just very gently. So it's a process. It takes a little bit of time, but the outcome is absolutely adorable. So almost done here. And we're not going to use that little peduncle that's laying there. You'll see why in a second. So we're not worried about it. I just had it in there to help me when I was painting my pumpkin because that was where I could hold it and paint the bottom. So, but we will not use it anymore. So that's what it looks like. Isn't that pretty? I love it. And then I got these ivory colored, off-white colored sunflowers that I just cut off a pick. And then I'll just add them into the top of my uh, pumpkin. And that's why we didn't need the peduncle because we're just gonna add these in. And because the pumpkin is foam, it's easy to press the flowers in. We're not gonna cut any holes in it or anything like that. I just want to be able to poke them through the foam and add them. And then I'll just get some sunflowers to go all the way around. And then I'll add some yellow flowers in between. I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, just to give a little bit of color, as you can see right here. And I think this is absolutely adorable. Let me know what you think. Project number two. I got this fall, sweet fall sign from the Dollar Tree, and I've had this for years. And it's time to do something about it because it's full of glitter. It's just a glittery hot mess. So I just use my heat tool to warm up the glue at the bottom, and I could pull it right off the stand. And here I'm just taking this burlap thing on the top. So, and you can pretty much just pull that off. But then it has all this glitter in here. It's just, I like glitter, but this is too much. So we're gonna sand that right on off. Luckily, it comes off pretty easily, so that works. And then I'm gonna give it 2 coats of, what's that? Vintage white? Cottage white? It's one or the other. It may be cottage white. I'm giving it 2 coats for full coverage and the whole front part. Then I got these window clings, and I'm gonna use that one in the middle. But I end up cutting them all out in pieces. Um, but you'll see why for a project a little bit later. And then I'll just add some Mod Podge to the front of my pumpkin that we painted white. And then we'll add the window cling right in the middle. There we go. And for me, they were a little bit hard to get off. I don't know if anybody else has had that problem, but they didn't come off as easily as other window clings that I've gotten from the Dollar Tree in the past. But here we go. Excuse me. But I do think this is absolutely adorable. I love this window cling. So nice and fall vibe thing. So I'm just kind of pressing it in a little bit. And then I'll give it some Mod Podge on top just to seal it in. And then we gotta let that dry for a minute. It dries pretty quickly. And then in the meantime, I'm going to paint the stand with bark brown. I like this bark brown color. I think it's pretty. And then I'm using the same one, bark brown, for the peduncle of our pumpkin. And here's the first coat, and then we'll dry it in between and give it a second coat. I'll do that here in a second. Yep, here's the second coat. And it goes so well with the colors of the wreath on the pumpkin. And then I'm going to distress it, of course. I like distressing, give it a little bit of an age look. So I'm just distressing it with some antique wax. But if you like a nice crisp look, you just skip this part. But I like it a little distressed here, so that's what I'm working on. Not too much, just enough. And then I'll add some hot glue into my stand and add my pumpkin back in there. Like so. Just press it down a little bit and then it sticks well. That's what it looks like so far. I think it's already cute as is. Then I just did some raffia and tied it around the top. Then I got these little mums from the Dollar Tree, and I'm gonna add, I end up adding one on each side of the pumpkin at the bottom, and then two on in the middle of the bow. You'll just see two of them here, but I end up adding two more. But you'll see that in the finished view. Okay, project number 3. We got one of these pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and we're gonna remove the tag and the little raffia bow. And then I got nope. So I'm gonna paint it uh, in between the raised parts of the pumpkin, and I'm using barn red because it kind of went well with one of the flowers in the napkin that we are gonna decoupage on. And once I've painted that and let it dry, I'm gonna measure out the parts of the napkin that I want, and I'm gonna cut out the pieces. And I'm just using a pencil to draw on the napkin. So, and then I'll cut out the pieces. It's just easier to do. in sections, especially when you don't have a lot of space in between when you gotta cut it out. And yeah, so that's how I decided to do it. And here's the last piece. And then I'm just gonna add some Mod Podge to the raised parts of the pumpkin. And we'll sit and let that dry afterwards. And then we'll add the napkin on top and use some parchment paper. It's a layering piece, so that way we're not ironing straight on the napkin. And then we'll just iron it down. It will activate the Mod Podge and it will, adhere the napkin to it. And you don't have any wrinkles or anything. It's really a neat way to do it. And here we got the last piece. And we'll put that to the side for a minute. And then I got this wood square from the Dollar Tree. And we'll take the hanger off and we'll apply Mod Podge to the whole front side. I'm not going to paint it anything. It's already very light as is. And I kind of like the wood grain on it. So we're just going to add Mod Podge to the whole front side. And you don't need a whole lot of Mod Podge. And then while that's drying, I'm going to use my X-Acto knife and cut the napkin down, follow around the edge. If you hold the napkin with one hand and then cut with the X-Acto knife, it's easy to cut it around the edges. But I do go between the X-Acto knife and one of these little sanding sticks that I got from Amazon, which is small enough that you can kind of get in between the small places and, um, kind of sand down around the edge. So you'll see that in a second. But here we got the first piece off. And here I use one of these sanding sticks. They look like a matchstick. But anyway, yeah, so I'm just kind of sanding along the edges just to get it off because they're small enough that they can handle these little tight areas right here. And then back to the wood square, I'm going to add this big napkin here. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I don't know how I'm doing it. I'm lining it up so it's like perfect, pretty even. And then when I'm done ironing on, it is so crooked. I don't know what happened here, but I keep going with it. But in the finished view at the end, you'll see that I redid it. I actually got this napkin off. I just sanded it off and applied a new one that's a whole lot straighter. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. I have no idea how it got so crooked. But anyway, it gets fixed, and I'm happy with how it looks now. So stick around until the end and you'll see. And here I'm just sanding off around the edges. I did give it a coat of Mod Podge on top just to seal it down. You see how crooked it is? I just couldn't stand it, so I end up um, sanding it off and applying a new napkin. And here I'm just putting some Jenga blocks on the back of my pumpkin. And then we're going to add that right there in the middle of our wood square. And I think it looks, oh, I like this one. It's absolutely beautiful. Look at the colors. Just such a nice fall vibe. There we go. And then I had a bow that I had made for another project, but I ended up not using it. So I'm going to use it on this one because I think it went really well and I really like it. So we'll just glue that to the middle and that's what it looks like. Okay, last project, project number 4. Got this wood plank from the Dollar Tree and we'll take the hanger off and we're going to give it a coat of Waverly's chalk paint in color white. And here are the window clings that I was talking about, and I cut them into pieces because for this project, I need them in pieces, and I need several of them. So I kind of laid them up on my board here to figure out the placement and how I want it to look. I was kind of playing around with it for a little bit. And then once I've decided what to do, which I'll make a little change later. That's always how it goes when you add more that you hadn't anticipated in the beginning. But yep, we're gonna add the first one, which are these little mushrooms. And I just added some Mod Podge and put it down while the Mod Podge was wet. And then I gave it a coat of Mod Podge on top. And then I got some little leaves here, do the same thing too as well. And then a pumpkin. Just make sure you get some Mod Podge on top to help seal it in. And that little red leaf that I just did, I ended up moving it a little bit because I wasn't going to do anything else to it here except for doing a little border around. But then I ended up wanting to add some more, so I had to move it. So, but it looks good, doesn't it? And here, of course, I got to distress it. So I'm using my antique wax, just a little bit on my brush, and then I just distress to my liking. And I got a little heavy-handed here on the side here, but I just take a paper towel later and I just wipe it down. No biggie. So, yeah, kind of give it a nice weathered look. And then once I'm done here, I'll take some jute twine and kind of go around the whole perimeter of the wood board. Yeah, here you can see I'm kind of wiping it down a little bit. It got a little too much. But yeah, it's no biggie. It looks good. I like it. And here's when I use the jute twine to go around the perimeter of my wood board, just to give it a little bit of a framed look. And I won't show you the whole thing because it's kind of slow because the glue string is dry so fast. Okay, so here I got some letters out and I'm painting them with Waverly chalk paint in the color pumpkin. And it's going to spell out the word hayfall. So this was a little bit extra, so I had moved the red leaf to the other side, and then I'm going to use some of that space for my letters here. And then once I'm done with painting them, I let them dry, and then I'll distress them with some antique wax again. I didn't want them to look too crisp. Nothing else is. Everything is aged, so I kind of want it all to go together. So that's what I'm doing right here. Just very little on a chippy brush. Just lightly go over it. Just so you get like a nice distressed look. And you can skip this part too if you don't like distressing. But this is kind of what I like, and it's gonna hang in my house, so that's why I'm doing it. Yep, just very little. And then dab some of it off. And then once I'm done with that, I'll lay them out on my wood board, and then we'll start hot gluing them down. That's what we're working on right here. So here we got the word hay. And then we'll have fall on the other side. So that's why we had to move the red leaf, because otherwise I would go over it. I was contemplating just doing that, but yeah, I didn't really like it, so I moved it. So and then we'll just hot glue them down. Like so. And then I decided to add a little acorn under the woodfall, because there was some space right there, and I just wanted to add a little bit extra. And I really like this sign too. I think it turned out really pretty. But yeah, let me know what you think about this project down in my description, comment section down below. Not the description, the comment section. And then here, what do I do after this? I do add some Mod Podge on top. just to seal it in, as I did with the others. Just very little. Do some on the acorn on the back side and then on top. And I like that acorn. It gave it a nice little extra touch on the front. And then here I'm just using 3 Jenga blocks and I'm going to add them to the back of my sign. And here I accidentally knocked off a letter L because I'm holding it right on top. So we'll go in and fix it in a minute, but I do 3 blocks in the back to help it stand. And I'm just using some hot glue to hold it in place. And then we'll get that letter L back on as well. And I think this is it for this one. I hope you liked today's project. There was so much to do. It's a whole lot of decoupaging, and I think they all turned out really pretty. But yeah, let me know what you think. And that's what it looks like. Super cute. All right, let's take a look at all of them. And here you can see a Chinkston napkin on the back. It looks so much better, doesn't it? Yep, but don't forget, if you haven't already done so, please subscribe to my channel, like and comment. It would all really help me out and help my channel grow. I appreciate you all so much for making it to the end of the video with me. I appreciate you all very much. Until next time.